to Book 101 Radio. Book 101 is about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book The Hole in Your Life, none other than Mr. Bob Rich. Welcome, Mr. Bob, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Okay, well, I'm actually a visitor from a distant galaxy,
Hmm.
and at home I'm a historian of horror, and that makes Earth my favorite place in all the universe. Nowhere else do uh, intelligent beings uh, do a game where they kill civilians. Only on Earth.
Only on Earth.
Nowhere else are the child-raising practices designed to damage children. And best of all, for a historian horror, nowhere else is the entire economy of a species designed to destroy their life support system. And this is why, although I've retired from 5 occupations, I'm still going strong as a professional grandfather. And the job specification is to work for a tomorrow for today's youngsters and a tomorrow worth living in. And everything I do, including my 20 published books and my blog, Bobbing Around, is my tool for doing this.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Bob. Thank you for visiting the earth and share your knowledge to us. And today, let's talk about your book, The Hole in Your Life, which is the latest one. And the title, The Hole in Your Life, is such a powerful image. How does the metaphor help describe the unique and personal nature of grief better than the other words we might use?
Mm. Well, Daniel, I wrote this book in response to the death of my daughter last December. When
Mm.
you've achieved healing from bereavement, one of the things that help you is to be of benefit. For example, I had a client in my counseling psychology practice who was witness to his father murdering his mother. And when father came out of jail, he became teetotaler and a completely changed man. And they came to love each other. And then father died. And 6 months later, the man came to me. And what he'd done, he rescued a teenager from a violent home. So he was passing it forward. That showed me that he had healed from his grief for his father. And in the same way, this book sets out how I was of service to my clients over decades of providing therapy and how I use the same ways of thinking and being to cope with my daughter's death. So I want to be of benefit to reduce the suffering of other people. So if you get my book and it's of benefit to you, that helps you and that helps me. So it's a win-win.
A win win situation for sure. In our culture, we often see grief as something to get over. Does your book suggest that the whole love by loss is something we learn to live with rather than something that ever truly feels in?
That's a very wise question, Daniel. Um, in one sense, you never get over losing someone you loved. You know, if I'm to live another 20 years, which is pretty unlikely, my daughter will still have left a hole in my life. My mother died in 2000, and I still am aware of her presence, you know. But the pain stops. In my mother's case, it took me 2 years. This is the book I wrote about her. It's her biography, and it's the book that won the most awards. But I couldn't even look at the material until 2 years after her death. In my daughter's case, basically, I was healed and okay when she died. And the difference is explained in my book. And it's not a race. The normal course of grief is 1 to 2 years before that. And some people can have healthy grieving for up to 4 years. It's okay. But I did it well and I did it fast because I knew what I was doing and I want to pass on those tools to other people.
And thank you for passing it, Mr. Bob. Thank you for passing it for our generation, for generations to come. So, what is the difference between moving on from a loss and moving forward with it? How does your book guide people forward the latter or the latter part of the
Uh,
life?
I think you have choices. One of those choices is to grow from suffering. I have lots of personal cliches. One of them is suffering is the spur to growth. If everything is just right and you live in heaven, there's no point in change. You get motivated to change when things are not right. And losing something, whether it's a person you love, or say for argument's sake, you lose your home and are forced to sleep in your car, or you suffer a car smash and are injured, you can become a better person for this. I have a friend in Canada who was an athlete as a young person, and he dived into a pool, and it was a shallow end, and he didn't realize, and he broke his neck. So he's a paraplegic. That turned him into a wonderful person. He's a respected philosopher, and he's just beautiful.
Hmm.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, indeed, Mr. Bob. And tell us, you've said there's no one way to grieve. How does your book help person honor their own unique grieving process without comparing to each other or to societal expectations?
Well, yes, everybody's path is different, but that's no different from, say, for argument's sake, a sport or music, playing music. Every musician has their own style, but they can all be wonderful at it, you know? You look at, say, two violinists playing, it won't be identical, and the sound won't be identical, and they can both be very good at it. So everything is like that. We're complex beasties. So I had this book part written and put it away. And then when my daughter was diagnosed with cancer, I got it out and rewrote it basically. The original is built around a young couple. They were referred to me, both of them separately. And they had 9 sessions separately first and then 3 together. And what happened was she was a little negligent, he was a little careless. And as a result, their little toddler son died a horrific death. And they both felt terrible guilt and they blamed each other.
Hmm.
So I built that. That was the skeleton for the story of how to heal from such a terrible thing. And when their story didn't illustrate a point, and I used stories from other clients, then when I rewrote the book, I included a second skeleton, if you can think of such a thing, or if you like, two sides of a DNA spiral. One is my story, and the other one continues to be their story. And so I cover all the ways, all the issues that are relevant to dealing with loss.
Mr. Bob,
Okay?
yes, Mr. Bob, was what was the most surprising or counterintuitive thing you learned about grief, either through your own experience or while writing this book?
Well, fun, having a laugh, enjoying yourself is a necessary part of healing from loss. Okay, one of my other books that's also won awards is this one, From Depression to Contentment. And the chapter in there is what I call the 7 magic bullets, which shoot down depression, anxiety, all forms of suffering. And to be of public benefit, I've reproduced that chapter on my website, and if you go to my blog, there'll be a link to it. And one of those, a very important one, is fun, enjoyment. And I think that's fairly contrary to people's expectations. Aren't you supposed to be sad? No. One of the ways of coping is to put your grief in a special box, and you schedule opening that box at a set time. So at first, it might be 5 to 7 p.m. when you give yourself permission to feel your grief and you feel it to the full. And for the rest of the time, life, you make it as close to normal or used to be normal as you can. So whatever you did before your tragedy should continue during the rest of the time. And if a thought of grief comes, the lady who invented this with me, when a thought of grief came, she said, "Go away, love, I'll see you at 5 o'clock." And he went, as long as you keep the appointment.
Mr. Bob, was there a specific moment, memory, or realization that served you as a first small flicker of light in the profound darkness of grief?
Well, my daughter shares my sense of humor. When she was in palliative care, she said, "I'll turn your washing water purple." Because I live in Australia, which is the driest continent, we save the output of our washing machine in bins that I then use for watering the garden. And the first wash we did after her death was, the color of beetroot juice when you dilute it with lots of water, a sort of a bright pink? That was the color of the water. And there was a white tablecloth in the wash, and it had no stain on it. This was her telling us she was all right.
Interesting, Mr. Bob. Interesting indeed. Grief is
So
not.
she's probably currently watching your interview.
Oh yeah, definitely. Grief is not
Mm.
just an emotion, it's a physical. How does your book address the very real bodily experience of loss, the fatigue, the pain, and relentlessness?
Well, some people actually, well, at a certain way through the grief, but when it's pretty bad, you're actually at risk of things like developing cancer, having a heart attack or stroke, uh, catching infections that normally you'd be okay with, having an accident like a car smash. Uh, and some people take deliberate risks. They go for a walk in a dangerous neighborhood, uh, take up smoking for the first time in their life, stuff like that. So you're asking very wise questions. It seems to me that you've experienced grief yourself.
Yes, indeed.
Mm.
Mr. Bob, we're both experience grief in our lives. So, what are some of the healthy ways to approach the inevitable triggers? A song, a smell, an anniversary, or that can be bring the wave of grief crashing back.
What's some of the healthy ways of dealing with it? Well, as I said, there are the 7 measures for building resilience, which allows you to cope with anything. And these are uh, restful sleep, neither too much nor too little, nourishing diet, neither too much nor too little, creativity, fun, social connectedness, and meaning. If you have a good dose of these 7 things, then you're a pogo stick. The harder the world jumps on you, the higher you bounce. Then there is, uh, well, the Buddhist term for it is equanimity, but it's in all wisdoms. Whatever is, and is okay. So I've suffered terribly. This too shall pass. It's all right.
Yes, it's okay to
And this
not to
is
be okay.
this can handle very severe physical pain, and it can handle very severe emotional pain.
Yes, it's okay not to be okay. Okay. So,
Except, yeah.
Mr. Bob, many fear mentioning the person who died, worrying it will upset the griever. What is the importance of continuing to stay the name and share their stories?
One of the most cruel things you can do is you see a recently widowed woman walking down the street and you duck around the corner because I don't know what to say. It is much better to go up to her, give her a hug and say, I don't know what to say, but I'm here for you.
Hmm.
That's healing. And yes, avoidance has never fixed any problems. Look, I had a client who his father-in-law died, and he started grieving for his own father, who died some years before. And I asked a few questions, and he explained he went to his doctor, and the doctor put him on an antidepressant. And so he could cope, but he hadn't dealt with his loss. So when the father-in-law's death came, that triggered the loss, and it was like his father had died yesterday. The only way to deal with pain is through it. So it's no good masking it. Of course, it's even worse if you use alcohol or drugs to mask the pain. But
Mr.
yeah,
Bob, so tell us, how can a couple navigate grief when they have grieving the same loss in a very different ways on a different timeline?
uh, mutual respect. I have a page on my psychology website on relationships. And there are a number of issues there. One is people do have different styles of being and different what's called attachment styles. But one of the best tools is what's called putting love in the bank. It was devised by a wonderful man called Gottman. And what he observed was that if you have at least 5 positive experiences together to one negative experience, then you have a good relationship. When I first read his book, I counted it between my wife and me, and we had 20 good interactions for each negative one, which is why, you know, I tell people I'm no good at getting married. I've only done it once. And that was nearly 58 years ago. And so if you put money in the bank, love in the bank, then whatever differences there are, whatever tensions there are, you can cope with them with love. And
De-
you can be there for each other.
Definitely. So, Mr. Bob, how does the shape and the edges of the hole change over time? Does the paint transform even if they truly disappears?
I'm sorry, my phone rang and I just switched it off. Could you please repeat that question?
Definitely. How does the shape and the edges of the hole change over time? Does the paint transform even it never fully disappears?
The pain disappears, except there are typically special days of remembrance, which can be the anniversary of the death, the person's birthday, Christmas, times like this. And what you can do is get out old photographs and either by yourself or shared with other people who love the same person, you can remember past times, including the funny bits. You don't have to pretend the person was perfect, you know, and you can have tears and laughter together. For the rest of the time, life can go on.
Okay, so
And
Miss, yes, go ahead, Mr. Bob.
and there is no pain for me associated with my daughter's death. I miss her. As the title of my book says, she has left a hole in my life. But that dragon of pain is not gnawing at my heart. And so you can progress to that. And so for some people that takes some years, for other people it takes months. It doesn't matter. It's not a race.
Okay, Mr. Bob, to wrap up our discussion for today, what do you say to someone who feels the grief has stagnated? That years later, the whole feels just as raw and deep as the first day.
There are various reasons for being stuck in grief. Uh, in my book, I think from memory, I discuss 5 different reasons. One is what I've already mentioned, that if you mask it with drugs, including alcohol or medicinal drugs, then you haven't dealt with it. Another one is anger. anger gets in the way of healing. That's why the complete judicial system of punishment for crime is wrong. Put him in jail, execute him. That doesn't help. What is needed is leading the murderer or whoever to a good place. And there are many examples of that I've discussed on my blog. In fact, one of my books is about how a multiple murderer can be led to become a good person. But there are, I won't go through it, but there are, I think, 5 different reasons people might be stuck in grief.
Mr. Bob, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your advocacy, or any projects that you're doing right now?
Well, one of the things is if you send me proof of purchase of any of my books, or if you subscribe to my blog, you've earned the right to a free book, and you specify which one from my list of books, and I'll email you a copy.
Yes.
And emailing me a review of a book that I haven't sent you for free is sufficient proof of purchase. And reviews give me the opportunity to be of benefit to more people. So I'd give this book away for free, except people don't value free things. And also, my publisher needs to recover his investment, doesn't he? As for me, I don't care about money.
Yes, people.
So, and my blog is Bobbing Around. And if you do a search for Dr. Bob Rich, Bobbing Around, it'll come up. And I have a contacts form there. If you click on that, you can send me a private message.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Bob Rich because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Bob, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for the honor of chatting with you.
Likewise, Mr. Bob, and please create more books because the world need it. More to come, people. See